charismatic, he could manipulate. He was like a puppet master. He had 10 puppets and he could control them all in any way they wanted to. And there I was wobbling along with my finger puppet, struggling to survive. And yet, a man who had shown such diligence throughout his career and who possessed such immense talent was somehow able to be so patient with us. He was never frustrated. He never belittled us in any way. He only lifted us up with encouragement. And it's so important to have when you're learning a language. I remember when I went to study at the Business University in Vienna, I thought I was ready to take my business courses in German. It seemed like a good idea until I walked into this monstrous auditorium to find 200 native speakers who, by the way, may have actually spoken German at the speed of light. So I was terrified. I sat at the back of the auditorium so that the professor couldn't call on me. But turns out that wasn't a good idea either because it was very hard to hear him from back there. And to be frank, I'm not sure I would have understood him from the front row because he had such a strong Viennese dialect. But that is not what it sounded like in the modern languages building. I was really terrified. I thought there was no way I could survive the semester. And suddenly a girl walked in, another student. She was the first student I met at the university. She sat right next to me. We did the whole small talk. And of course she asked me where in the United States I was studying. So I said Atlanta. And she said, it's so funny because I have this friend and we grew up together. You know, our families have always known each other. And this friend of mine, his uncle, is a professor in Atlanta. And I don't recall the university, but maybe you've heard of him. Bill Aue? Just like that, everything was okay. It was all fine. It was as if he had sent a muse to me personally to save me in this moment of linguistic desperation. And maybe it was one big cosmic coincidence, I don't know. But at any rate, I felt instantly closer to home and closer to my goal. It was like this tall, slender man had extended his body to form a bridge over the Atlantic Ocean to make sure that I could arrive safely at my destination. And he's always been this bridge between the two cultures, between the two languages. In fact, I still believe he lived a double life in Vienna. If you were ever talking to him and he had that pensive look, it wasn't that he was interested in what you were saying, it was just that his mind was briefly occupied with the other body he had running around in Vienna that very moment. But he could pull that off with double life because he had so much time. He really did. Out of every 24-hour day, he got twice as much time as every other person. And he spent that with us. Right? You know, in one semester we had one single-page paper due each week. And he must have revised 3 versions of every single one of the papers I wrote for that class. And then he would sit down with me for hours on end and explain every possible reconstruction of a given phrase. When you'd ask him for the meaning of a word, he wouldn't give you a simple, straight answer. He would explain the etymology or the evolution of the word. He would break it down for you. So, for example, the word Fluss in German means river or flow. The word ein means in. So you put them together, you have Einfluss, which should mean then an influx or flowing in. But in fact, it means influence. Something I never thought of, influence, is when somebody or something flows into your body and affects you. So in the spirit of academia, I would like to evoke the meaning of another word. And that word is Aue, which in German refers to floodplains along the side of a river. So when it rains and it begins to flood, pieces of the Aue start to flow down the river. This Aue may get stuck on a branch, may stop there for a moment, take its time, but eventually moves on